She was a hobosexual. That's crazy. Y'all wasn't bringing in enough for you to do that. And then you go and quit your job. On top of that, the girl has issues. Hello, little enzymes. Welcome back to Daisha's Digest. The topic of today's video is, let's say, not being on the same page. We have 4 stories. They all have updates. All of the information will be included in the description. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into it. The first one sounded very interesting and potentially polarizing. So the title is, Am I the a-hole here for divorcing my wife for being a stay-at-home mom? I, 30 male, married my wife, 30 female, around 5 years ago. We had been dating since high school. I loved how smart, ambitious, and driven she was. We bonded over academics and nerd stuff. We had both landed good jobs in the same city right after college. 3 years into marriage, we had our baby. We had decided on sending our child to daycare after 6 months. But when 6 months were up, she refused to go to work and send our child to daycare. Her argument was, if I picked up more work, we could afford a single income household, and she will be saving us money by being a stay-at-home parent, that it was better for our child as well. I refused. Daycare is normal. If it was only me working, I would have to work way more hours, be exhausted, and not spend as much time with my child. I said if she was scared about daycare, we can work in different shifts to stay home with our baby, like a tag team. She refuses, saying that does not work for her, and as a mom, she needs to be with her baby all the time. This caused a huge fight between us. She quit her job. Now that was a little extreme, girl. She took care of baby during my work hours and wanted me to take care of cooking dinner on weekdays and cooking, cleaning, and baby care on weekends because stay-at-home mom deserves breaks too. Oh, Jesus. Let me finish before I get my commentary, child. He said, this dynamics really made me resent her. I tried communicating many times. The load of bills and insane work hours, along with not being able to enjoy time with my baby, all deeply upset me. When I was sure she wasn't going to listen to me, I filed for divorce. The court gave me 50-50 custody, no alimony or child support, since I proved it was her own decision to stay home, something I never agreed upon, and her career break was around a year only. I moved back in with my parents and they have room for our baby too. Meanwhile, my ex-wife is struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. My baby stays with my mom when I work. My mom offered my ex the same, but she was so mad at me, she refused and enrolled our baby in daycare. I refused paying for it since she could just leave our kid with my mom. My ex-wife and her friends are calling me an a-hole for divorcing her over being a stay-at-home mom and not providing any support. Listen, I'm on his side. She messed around and found out. Now let me explain. They did not have the type of relationship where she should have even expected that her being a stay-at-home mom perpetually would have been the way to go. Like, from the outset, he talking about how she loved how smart, ambitious, and driven she is. Like, it's given, yeah, we gonna be 50-50. We're gonna, like he said, he wanted a partner. And that's fine. And that's the relationship that they had. She basically tried to turn the way that their relationship was into something different. I don't know what got in her head. Maybe it probably was because after she did spend that 6 months home with the baby, she probably was like, no, I want to keep staying home with the baby. Unfortunately, he was not on board. And unfortunately, his salary probably also was not on board to keep up with that demand. And that's just the reality of the situation. Perhaps if he was able to have a higher salary and work the same amount of hours, perhaps he might have been okay with it. But I mean, judging by how he's talking here, he probably still wouldn't have been okay with it. He probably still would have wanted her to go back to work. But it's the nature of their relationship, okay? She tried to change an agreement that they made. It didn't work out in her favor. Now, me personally, I already lean towards I don't want to have no kids. My main thing with having kids, I need to have a good partner. If I feel like I have an excellent husband that will take care of me and the kids and help me, and not just basically have me being a single mom who's married, and I feel like he's actually going to be a good father to the children or child or whatever, then okay, at least consider. And that also, like, if I'm going to commit to being a mom, I'm going to fully commit. I'm not finna be, I gotta go to work, and then I gotta come home and I wanna at least have the option. I'm not saying I would be a stay-at-home mom, but I wanna at least have the option to be if I felt that my kids needed that at the time, if that makes sense. Like, if I feel like they're good, without me being at home, then okay, yeah, I'll go out and make something shake. I'll work or do whatever. But that's why I said I need a good partner, because if I feel that, no, I want to be at home with my kids 100% of the time, or at least 75% of the time, or whatever, I want to be able to have that option and that flexibility. Sis in this story did not have that option. She tried to create that option for herself, and again, it didn't work out in her favor. And these are the conversations that need to be had before you have children, okay? Because as you can see, you can't just try to swindle your partner into like letting you stay home, or swindle your partner into like doing things that you want to do, especially when it affects them and their livelihood and their well-being. Because people feel like some things that they do, like they're not going to have consequences, or it's not like a divorceable offense. But sis in this story messed around and found out. And I hate to see it. I hate that for her. I hate to see it. I wish she would have had that conversation with her husband before they had kids, so they could be on the same page and she could know what her options were, and potentially maybe find someone else who was better aligned with the life that she saw for herself. I am an equal opportunity lifestyle person on this channel. If you want to live this way, okay. If you want to live that way, okay. As long as I feel like everyone in the situation feels like it's fair for them. He didn't feel that it was fair. That's rough. That's really rough. What do y'all think? Let me know. Somebody said in one of the previous videos that I'm not a girl's girl. I'm a girl's girl, but it gets to a point. It gets to a point where things just don't start, they just don't make sense. Or we start treating people like they're not people or humans, or like they don't have emotions or feelings, or like they just have to do what we say just because. That don't make sense. Like it's got to be some give and take. It's got to be some fairness. It's got to be some empathy. It's got to be some humanity in the situation. You feel me? Anyway, let me go to the comments. Somebody said, not the a-hole. If she would have had a conversation that took your feelings into account, you would still be married and the baby would have been in daycare. Now she has to work regardless and the baby is still in daycare. This is one of those F around and find out scenarios. The courts decided custody and no child support for you. Her decisions put her where she is right now, and that has nothing to do with you. Enjoy being able to spend more time with your kid. Congratulations as well on only having to financially support one person. Now you can have breathing room and enjoy time with your baby. That's facts. Someone said, not the a-hole, and agree. It's like she made a unilateral decision that affected you both. I found this part especially rich. She took care of baby during my work hours and wanted me to take care of cooking dinner on weekdays and cooking, cleaning, and baby care on weekends because stay-at-home moms deserve breaks too, end quote. And when exactly was daddy's break? She sounds like a very selfish, entitled person. I also have to agree. I mean, like, how can you not? You want him to work, presumably from 8 to 5, come home, cook, presumably from 5 to 7 on the weekdays. Then when he's not working in his off working hours, also cook and clean and take care of the baby on the weekends. So he barely even gets time with his child that he helped create, and he doesn't get any free time at all. Now, granted, in this situation, the wife also is barely getting any free time. Well, actually no, because she would be able to get free time on the weekends. So she coming out in the green in this situation, but say that she wasn't. Say that she also wasn't getting any free time. This is a situation that she put herself in. She chose to quit her job and stay home. They did not agree on that. Maybe in another situation, if she was still working, or if her husband was already making more money to where he got it like that, maybe then they could hire a maid or a night nurse or someone to help or a chef or someone to prepare meals, or, so that she could have that break that she is talking about having as a stay-at-home mom. She forced a situation that was never going to work. Like, he don't got it like that, girl. You got to go to work. Y'all did not agree on you staying home. You got to go back to work. I'm sorry. Someone said everyone needs to be on the same page once children are involved, and you clearly were not. You're not the a-hole for not wanting to be the breadwinner, cook, cleaner, and weekend nanny. Obviously not. Where was there supposed to be time in that for your well-deserved break? I'm sorry for your child that this ended in divorce, but you tried to communicate your desires many times. Good luck to you. That's facts. Someone said they did communicate and did have a plan they both agreed to, daycare after 6 months. She tried to change the terms to one where she works way less and he works way more. Another comment, bro, she unilaterally changed the whole nature of your relationship and put all the work on you without your consent. You're not the a-hole. I would have divorced her too and wouldn't help her in the least. Best part is you forced her to do the thing she refused, to which led to your divorce in the first place. And then another comment, now she's turning down free childcare with the kid's grandmother because she wants to prove a point. It certainly doesn't seem like she's making the best decisions for the baby here or for herself. Because who turns down free childcare to pay for daycare? What is the phrase? You shot yourself to spite your whatever. You shot your foot to spite your hand or something. Like, unless the grandma's like problematic, then that's obvious to not have the baby there. But if the relationship is good with the grandmother, why not take the free childcare, girl? You need it. The last comment, her decisions seem to be made from a place of self-interest and spite. I must admit I'm concerned about the welfare of the child in her care. Update 1 day later, the comment section truly shows how sexist the community is. Oh, I guess they didn't include the other. Let me go see some of the other comments, actually. I'm very curious to see what other people had to say. Let me try to find some of the "you're the a-hole" comments. This is kind of like a not the a-hole comment. This lady said, I was a stay-at-home mom. I did all the cooking, cleaning, errand running, etc. because I was the one at home. I also didn't expect my husband to take over all childcare duties on the weekends. I recognized he worked all week and needed a break too. I honestly find it shocking on Reddit the number of times stay-at-home moms push this weekend nanny scenario on their husbands. Your husband is out there busting his butt so you can have the privilege of staying home with your children. I'm not saying dads shouldn't be involved on the weekends and evenings, but as the stay-at-home mom, you don't just get every weeknight and weekend off. There were days when my husband got home and realized I'd had a tough day and dealt entirely with the kids, and there were times I realized he was stressed from work and needed to decompress and asked nothing of him. You and your spouse work together for what is best for your family. That sounds very reasonable to me. Somebody else said, my wife is a stay-at-home mom. It was a joint decision so she could go to school for a career change. But I told her, no negotiation. We are hiring a sitter for a few nights a month. She needs a break. I need a break. But most importantly, we need a break together. To be intimate, to watch a movie, to drink, to play video games. And we also have a few nights where we order out, or I get to tell her to leave the house dirty. Everything can't be perfect all the time. If that's the standard we set for ourselves, we will burn out. We sometimes have tension or argue, but having those compromises is what has made us strong. Of course, I alternate baths, sleeping duty, get everyone ready for school, part-time 3-hour program, diaper duty, and so on. She's the primary caretaker, but I told her that can't mean 100%. Also sounds reasonable to me. Somebody said being a stay-at-home mom is only an option if you can afford it. Exactly. I think that's exactly my point. Y'all wasn't bringing in enough for you to do that. And then you go and quit your job on top of that? Nah. This comment says, it sounds like you guys couldn't. She couldn't grasp that. Maybe tell her if she picked up more work, she can afford a single income household. She didn't seem to have any problem with it when you were married. Dang. Yeah, it just was never gonna work. That just was never gonna work. Okay, so here's another comment, I guess kind of a little bit on her side. He says, as a stay-at-home dad, here's my take. Daycare sounds like a great option until you face the reality of handing your baby off to a stranger. 6 months is very young, especially when you start pricing it out and you realize that even making a modest salary, you will barely be making enough to cover the cost of daycare. Her salary determines everything. If she's making $80,000 to $120,000, then yes, it may be justified. If she's making $40,000 to $60,000, then no, probably not, especially once you have another kid. This was our scenario. We did the math and it clearly made more sense to have me stay home for 3 to 5 years until the kids enter public school. Life throws curveballs, especially when it comes to kids and family. Sometimes we have to adapt to new scenarios. We never planned on me being the stay-at-home parent, but her career took off and mine didn't. I rolled with the punches and things have turned out great. Maybe there's other issues in your marriage, but this alone shouldn't have sunk the boat, in my opinion. The only reason I disagree, I do agree with him about the cost of the daycare and all that. The only reason I disagree is that the wife in the original scenario didn't really seem willing to compromise, and she also was making decisions like the other people were saying unilaterally. You quit your job, you have a whole child and a husband. Y'all didn't agree on that, and you just up and quit your job. Then you expect him to do all of the childcare on the weeknights and the weekends, all of the cooking and cleaning and childcare on the weekends by himself. She just wasn't making sense to me. It just wasn't making sense to me. So he said that, this alone shouldn't have sunk the boat. I don't know. If I was a husband, that might have been it for me too. Because it sounded to me like he had been dealing with that for quite some time before he finally decided to, do the divorce. She could have even tried to say, okay, you know what? I'll work part-time so we can at least bring in something. Maybe the baby can be in daycare part-time and I can also work part-time. It was like her way or the highway. She wasn't trying to budge at all. Unfortunately, she should have married a man who made more money, who was down for letting her be a stay-at-home mom. I mean, at the end of the day. Then a lot of people are saying that the post is fake. A lot of people are saying not the a-hole. I'm not finding any you're the a-hole comments, and I'm really scrolling through. So I'll just continue with his update. So he said, the comment section truly shows how sexist the community is, with most you're the a-hole comments calling me broke and asking me to man up. Others saying mom deserves to be with her baby, and I am an a-hole for taking that away from them. My marriage was based on equality. I never wanted to be the sole breadwinner. There you have it. And to everyone telling me mom staying home is best and the thing to do if you can afford it, I was clearly saying we could not. Daycare expense would have been 30% of my wife's salary, 15% of our joint income. I was not even demanding daycare. I offered my mom's help part-time, different shifts, etc. Anything that would enable me to have quality time with my child too. She refused that, turning me into an ATM and domestic help. See, she was being completely unreasonable because I forgot that the grandmother was there to help too. So if she really needed help, he said to everyone saying I should have given her more time, each phase of childhood only stays for a little while. I missed over a year of my child's life. Big moments, smiles, and phases due to this arrangement. My wife did not care or sympathize. It was my duty to provide for her and her, quote, right to stay home with our child. Let me be clear. I am not agreeing or disagreeing with that sentiment from her. If that's what she believes, that is perfectly fine. Some people do believe it is the man's right to provide It's the woman's right to stay home with the child. If that's what you believe, that's perfectly fine. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying they didn't have it like that. You couldn't afford to have that belief, ma'am. And you knew you couldn't afford it. So why did you try to do that? Your man didn't have it like that. That's what I'm saying. OP said further, I was responsible for fending for myself for food, washing dishes and cooking dinner and cleanups every day. And on my only day off, the only day I could possibly spend with my child, I had to clean house, cook all meals, meal prep for the week, do laundry, mow lawn, etc. I only got time with the baby for about 6 hours, max 12 hours every week. I was working over 80 hours a week at office and another 28 hours doing housework. What she did was take care of our baby. I am not dissing her for that, just that I wanted time with our child too. When I realized she would not listen to me at all, and I did not want to miss years of my child's life, I filed for divorce. To everyone saying I am taking advantage of my mother, I do not know how your family is. My parents love my child. I am my parents' only child and my kid their only grandkid. To those who say I am hurting my child, bringing in unknowns, my child is having a great time being pampered by my mom and loves the time spent with me. To people who are asking what I won, time with my child, memories with my child, a relationship with my child, rather than being an ATM. And to people who say I never loved my wife, I did, until I realized she did not love or care about me, that she only cared about what she needed and wanted and treated me like an ATM and a slave. It was heartbreaking to realize, but it was not a relationship I wanted to continue with. She took away my time with my child, and that is not something I can forgive easily. I would rather be a present dad with my child. Okay. There we have it. I think we spent enough time on this story. Let's go to the next one. Am I the a-hole for not making my son give rides to his stepsister to and from school? I, 45 male, share 3 kids with my ex, 16 male, 14 male, and 11 female. We divorced 10 years ago. My ex, D, remarried 8 years ago and has another biological daughter, 7 female, and a stepdaughter, 14 female. Okay, so OP has 3 kids with his ex. The ex has an additional biological daughter and a stepdaughter. So the ex has 5 kids, OP has 3 kids. My kids have never really gotten along with their stepsister. She pretty much gets whatever she wants. She has always had her own room and bathroom at their mom's house. My daughter had to share with her brothers. She does not do chores and expects my kids to do whatever she asks them to do. Things have been really bad the last 2 years, and a little over a year ago, my oldest came to live with me full time. A few months later, his brother followed. Dang, must have been real bad. They said, we don't even want to live here no more. My oldest turned 16 back in December. I bought a car for him. My only request was that he would take his brother and sister, my kids, to school, which he agreed to do. My sons and their stepsister go to the same school. Not long after I got him the car, Dee, the ex-wife, started asking that my son take his stepsister to and from school. My ex's neighborhood is on the route to school from my house. He refused. My ex tried to make me make him do it. I refused. Well, last month we got a winter storm come in. The first round was not supposed to be bad, so there was school. But quickly, the weather got worse than predicted, so school let out early. My sons were walking to the car with a friend to head to my house. Their stepsister was standing near the car. With a friend and was on her phone. She told my son, "Mom says she cannot come get us, so we need to ride with you." My son refused. She handed my son the phone and my ex was on the line. She demanded that my son give his stepsister and her friend a ride. She was across town getting groceries before the storm got worse. He refused. His stepsister started yelling at him. He ignored her and they got in the car to leave. She and her friend got in front of the car so he couldn't move. He honked his horn and told them to get the F out of the way. They eventually did, and my son left her and her friend at the school. A teacher saw the incident, so we were called by the administration about it. We told them what happened. My sons were not in trouble, but they said, we need to work out this family conflict. Afterwards, my ex and her husband tried to talk to me and blamed me. I told them it isn't my fault y'all raised an entitled brat who no one likes. Y'all have enabled her behavior for years. I have tried to get y'all to address it, but I am done. Until you stop being a worthless mother and stepdad, sheesh, I do not want to hear crap from either of you. D, your own sons despise you. That is all on you. Then we left. I have not spoken to my ex since. I do feel bad for my daughter because tensions have been high at my ex's house and she is there half the time. Am I the a-hole? Oh, not the a-hole, but I mean, I probably would have just gave her a ride just because it was like an emergency situation. But at the same time, I can see how someone could be tired of a person who always feels like they're entitled or like you owe them something or they deserve something. And so even when they do have an emergency situation where they actually really do need your help, you still don't want to help them because they're just so they just feel so entitled to you helping them. So at the end of the day, the son is not the caretaker. If the mom was across town getting groceries, then she should have stopped her grocery trip and came to get her daughter, I guess. They didn't owe her a ride home just because he happens to have a car. What if he didn't have a car? What would they have done? They have to think about it that way. Just because the option is there doesn't mean you're entitled to it. So still not the a-hole. I probably would have just given her a ride just because of the situation, but still, I don't think they were in the wrong. Someone said, not the a-hole. Your ex chose her stepdaughter over her own kids. Someone else said she chose her new husband over her own children. His daughter is just an extension of him in her eyes, while her children with OP are an extension of him and an unwanted reminder to her new husband that he came after OP. OP's kids basically remind stepfather and mom that he is getting OP's sloppy seconds. Yo. And of course, she doesn't want to lose another husband, so she is going to favor his children over her ex's children. Another comment, ex is just disrespectful and rude. She couldn't have called OP and their son herself and said, I'm stuck just this once in an emergency. Could you please help me out? Who is the grown-up here, the 16-year-old or her? That's a good point. That's actually a good point. Why didn't the ex just directly call OP and be like, hey, look, could you please, we're in a bind here. It's an emergency situation. That's a great point. And that also goes to show the type of person that she is. Someone else, not the a-hole, sounds like they have spent years cultivating a bad relationship between the kids and want to blame you. That is on them. They are at the mess around and find out stage of parenting. I do family law and have seen this plenty. Update 17 days later. Answers to common questions. Looks like at least until June 5th, it would be illegal for my son to take his stepsister and her friend home. I'm not going for full custody for my daughter because she is highly attached to her little sister and would be sad to not see her every other week. But I take my daughter to and from school every day. It is across the street from my office. While things are tense at my ex's, it does not appear that she is being treated any differently than before. Another answer to a common question, there are no buses available for my kids and their stepsister. They are on an inter-district transfer. Okay, so the update, a little over a week ago, my ex reached out to try and see what we could compromise on about the situation. I told her there was nothing to compromise about. I explained that until June, he legally cannot take her anyways. I do not want her in the car, and our son does not want her in the car. My ex said it simply is not doable for her to take her or her dad to take her to school every day. How is that his problem? And what were you doing before the young man got the car? Keep doing that. Opie said if our son could take her on Tuesdays, they could do the other days. I told her no. This Tuesday, their stepsister demanded a ride. My son told her no, and she pushed him. A teacher saw it, and she is facing possible in-school suspension. Disciplinary issues like this could compromise her inter-district transfer. That is the update. Child, they got to get this girl together. They are really raising an entitled individual, and I hate to see it. Someone said, what was their plan if he didn't get his license? And another person said, or if OP didn't get his son a car. That is my exact, it's something about entitled people that I just what were you gonna do if I didn't have what I had? What was gonna be the next option? Do that. Whatever the next option was gonna be for you, do that. You coming to me asking me for help, you can do it, you got it. You are not a tree, you can move.
You are not a tree, you can move.
That's right, that's right.
You got it. Especially with someone with this attitude, it would be different if they were grateful, or even if they were willing to put in gas money, or whatever, they had a better attitude about it. Then okay, we could try to make something work. You think you entitled to the point where you're pushing your stepbrother at school because he won't give you a ride? Update 2.5 months later. Contrary to popular belief, my son's car was not keyed or anything like that. After the incident in the update, my sons and their stepsister ignored each other at school. Since that incident, my ex has tried to act sweet and kind when we have interacted. All involved schools let out last week for summer. On Monday, I had a meeting run long, and I could not drop my daughter off at my ex's as I typically do, so I had my son do the drop-off for me. When he got there, my ex asked to talk to him for a minute. She asked if she pays him if he would agree to take his stepsister to and from school starting in the fall. As mentioned in my comments, my ex has switched shifts so she cannot pick up her stepdaughter from school. Her husband typically has to leave work to get his daughter from the school, and that is what has happened most days. But it is starting to cause issues at his job. My son told her no and came home. That night, she calls me and asks if I would be interested in doing joint family therapy with her and all 3 of our kids. I told her before that can happen, she, her husband, and her stepdaughter need to make a full and complete apology to our kids for their treatment over the years. She said, I do not know if I can make that happen. I told her, well, that is what needs to happen before I would consider your proposal. My kids and I already do individual therapy. This morning, she forwarded me some texts from one of her friends who is a teacher at the high school my ex's stepdaughter would have to attend if she switches schools. She was telling my ex that there are only a few spots left in the few honors/AP courses that sophomores can take, so if the stepdaughter wants in those classes, she needs to enroll in the school now. So my ex then said, I am desperate. I want her to stay where she is at. That is only possible if our oldest son agrees to take her, but if I need to switch schools for her, I need to know now. I responded, this ain't got shit to do with our kids, and the fact that you are bending yourself into pretzels for your stepdaughter is the problem, because you do not do that shit for our kids. Do not contact me unless it is about our kids. That is the update. He said you're bending yourself into a pretzel. I'm weak. That's crazy. She really going above and beyond for her stepdaughter. So the thing that's even crazier is there's another option for a different school. That's the thing that's even crazier. Y'all are at that school on a transfer. Now, granted, I don't know what the school in their district is like. Maybe it's not up to par. I don't know. But there is another option. She can get schooling at a different school. She does not have to be going to the school she's going to. Somebody said, good for you. She's desperate, but not desperate enough to tell her husband and stepdaughter that they need to give a genuine apology. Right. I guess husband and stepdaughter are not desperate. Your ex is awful. Another person, exactly how stupid is the ex that she can't just ask one of her stepkids' friends' parents to carpool? This isn't rocket science. I think the reason why she can't is because the stepkids' friends probably don't live in the same area because it is a school transfer. I'm assuming that's probably what it is. Either way, that's their problem. They're going to have to figure it out. As OP said, if they were willing to do an apology or whatever, I feel like that would greatly help the situation, but obviously they're not even willing to do that. Y'all want so much from OP's son. Y'all want so much of them, but y'all aren't even willing to just give a simple apology. Nah, you're not getting no rides to school. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not agreeing to share my room with my dad's girlfriend's daughter? So I, 22 female, still live with my dad by choice. My mom passed away when I was 5, and it's just been the two of us ever since. He never dated anyone until now, and honestly, I'm proud of him for finally opening up again. His new girlfriend seems nice enough, and I want him to be happy. She has 3 kids, a son, 18 male, an older daughter, 29 female, who doesn't live with her, and a younger daughter, 10 female. Recently, they've been spending more time at our house, and now they're officially moving in. For context, we live in a 3-bedroom house. My dad has the master bedroom. I've had my own room my entire life, and the 3rd bedroom is currently a guest room, home office, and storage combo. We also have a spacious basement and an attic, both mostly filled with old stuff, some of it my mom's, but nothing that can't be moved or reorganized. I'm a full-time uni student, and I also work part-time at a restaurant. I get a small monthly allowance from my dad, classic Indian dad behavior, but I still make my own money and support myself as much as I can while I study. I even paid him $50 in rent, which is the most he'd let me give. I tried offering more, but he refused. So I'm not freeloading, I pull my weight. Here's the issue. My dad told me that the 10-year-old would be sharing my room. As in, I'm supposed to give up my privacy, routine, and personal space to suddenly share it with a 4th grader. And here's the thing. She's not a bad kid, but she's loud, high energy, and constantly wants attention. She talks nonstop, touches things without asking, and doesn't really understand boundaries yet. She'll go through my drawers, try on my stuff, and barge in even when I'm clearly doing schoolwork or trying to nap. She's very clingy with me too, probably because I'm the closest in age among the women in the house, but it's draining. I tried being patient and nice, but I'm already struggling to juggle school, work, and life. Sharing a room with someone who wakes up early, makes noise, and doesn't understand personal space would seriously affect my mental health and productivity. Also, my dad actually agrees with me. He knows it's not fair to ask me to give up my space, and he's been trying to talk to his girlfriend about putting her daughter in the guest room instead. He also suggested that her son take the basement or attic, and her son is completely fine with that. In fact, he likes the idea of having the basement to himself and said he could even turn it into his own space. So it's not like anyone's protesting except the mom. But she still insists that her son needs his own room and doesn't want her son in the basement for reasons I honestly don't understand. She's not hearing anyone out, including my dad. Meanwhile, I'm just expected to step aside and give up the room I've had all my life like it's no big deal. I didn't ask for this new setup. I'm trying to be supportive, but I also didn't expect to be pushed aside in my own home just because my dad is starting a new chapter. I don't hate the little girl, not at all, but I also don't think it's fair for a 22-year-old university student with a job to be rooming with a 10-year-old who doesn't respect boundaries or understand what quiet time means. It's not a minor inconvenience, it's a huge shift in my day-to-day life. So, am I the a-hole? My camera just died, so let me get a battery in here. Okay, we're back. I don't think she's the a-hole necessarily, and I do understand the sentiment of feeling like you're being pushed out of your childhood home. Some people might be looking at her sideways because she's 22, still living at home, but I think given, like she said, her dad was Indian, I think, given that culture, they just operate differently. I don't see a problem with that at all. And plus she said she tried to give rent, her dad wouldn't let her, whatever. I think that's fine. I think she has a dad problem. He's the one that has the say on whether or not these people can even move in and what room these people are having. It sounds to me like he's not trying to stand up to his new girl and tell her like, no, your daughter is not going to be in my daughter's room. She going to be in the guest room, or your son and your daughter can share a room, or your son can have the basement. It's really all up to him at the end of the day. If he's not willing to make that decision, then OP has some decisions of her own. She can move out. She can go down to the basement. That's really the only two decisions she has. It's not her house at the end of the day. So she really can't call any shots I know that she feels like it's her home and whatever, but like in the grand scheme of things, like the dad needs to make that call. Someone said, not the a-hole, separate conversation with your dad. Another person replied, this because what others are saying, that girlfriend is trying to push OP out, is probably true. OP needs to have a talk with dad. Dad needs to put his foot down and tell girlfriend she isn't in charge of everything. I agree. The girlfriend is sounding shady here. Let's just go to the update. So the update was 4 hours later. She said, hello guys, I want to start off by saying thank you for the advice you all gave me. I wasn't able to comment on all of them, but I read them and some comments actually pointed something out. My dad's girlfriend wants me out. And the ones that told me to sit down with my dad and talk to him privately, just us. I did so this morning. We went out for breakfast and I told him I don't feel comfortable sharing my room. I don't want to share my room. I told him I'm not taking the attic and basement either. My room was mine since I was a baby, so why would I want to give it to someone else? He was a bit hurt about this since I didn't actually tell him how I really feel about this whole ordeal. For context, if you don't want to read about the ages and personality and background, skip this paragraph. So my dad was born in India and is an only child while my mother has 4 brothers. So you can already tell what the dynamic was like. My mom's parents favored her brother more than her, blah, blah, blah. And my dad didn't like that. And he was like 22 when they got married. He moved to Canada with my mom, 22 and 19. And yes, it was a love marriage. My dad got a job and went to school, started his own business and took my mom to school, and they got financially stable. My mom got her degree in medicine and my dad an accountant. They had me at 30 and 27. I was 5 when my mom passed away. My dad is a bit of an irrational person, not in a bad way, but when you piss him off regarding someone he cares deeply about, he's quick to cut you off. My dad's girlfriend is 43 and eldest child is 29, so you can do the math. What is the math on that, child? I'm 43 minus 29, 14? Wait a minute. Hold on. 43 minus 29. Sometimes I have to double check to make sure I'm not tripping. That's 14. Damn. She said, anyway, after talking to my dad, he was kind of pissed off at how blind he'd been and he was fuming. We went back home and you will not believe what we saw. His girlfriend already moved her daughter's clothes from the guest room to mine, and that lit the fuse. I started screaming at her not to touch anything in my room. I honestly should have listened to those who told me to put a lock on my door. My dad intervened, told me to take the kids out of the house, and they started arguing. Long story short, my dad broke up with her, and it turns out she had lost her house to debt and had nowhere else to go. See? She was a hobosexual. That's crazy. She needed 2 hots and a cot. She needed a place to stay. And you gotta watch out for these hobosexuals these days. They're running rampant in society. Ain't nobody staying with me unless I have the same last name. OP continues, she was after my dad's money, but my dad was what she described as stingy and he didn't buy anything for her. I cackled at this. We changed the locks as she printed out her own copy of the keys and later got a call from her ex-husband, the baby daddy of the 10-year-old, saying we should have kept her with us as she is now staying with him and his wife and other kids. So it's now a crowded house. I feel like my dad dodged a bullet there. They were dating for a few months and all this happened in the span of one day. They were only dating for a few months and he was already thinking of moving her in? Hobosexual. That's way too soon. She said it's also sad that he didn't date after my mom died and when he finally tried to, this is what happened. My dad says it's best he stays a single widower. Low-key sad, but that's his decision. Also, to mediocre prompt telling me to move out because I'm, quote, 25. I'm 22, read, and I don't want to move out yet. There's no such thing as it's time to move out when you have a great relationship with your parents. I'll move out when I want. See how I said I choose to stay with my dad? Yeah, it's a choice. I can move anytime, but guess what? I choose, yes, choose, it's a choice not to move out. Maybe after I graduate, I'll move, but honestly, I hate being alone, so I don't know. Look, to be honest, if I was able to do something like that, I'd still be living with him. Why? Like, why would I want to pay this rent? Why would I want to pay these bills? If I was in her situation, no, I would not be moving out. What? You mean to tell me I could just work, chill, stack my bread, take these classes, not be too stressed unnecessarily? That's crazy. People tell her to move out. I think that's the end, though. It seems like the end. Let's go to the next one. Am I the a-hole for recording my friend's fiance at her bachelorette party and playing the recording for him? I was invited to the bachelorette party for my friend's fiance. It was over the long weekend at a vacation rental on the beach. There was booze, a hot tub, great food. It was definitely a hit. At one point, I was on the deck looking at the ocean, and the bride was drunk in the hot tub with two of her friends. She said she felt more relaxed than she had in a while. I assumed she was referring to wedding planning. One of her friends asked if she was having trouble with the little monster. She said no, that he was manageable for now. At that point, I realized they were talking about my friend's son. Now, so the fiance has a son. So the friend has a son. I see. I took out my phone and started recording them. The bride's friends said horrible stuff about my friend's son, and the bride responded positively to everything, laughing and agreeing. Then she said it was too bad he wasn't old enough to send to military school. I stopped recording when their topic changed. I don't think they ever realized I was close enough to hear them. When we got back, I asked to meet with my friend and I played him the recording. He was quiet while I listened. After the recording was finished, he asked me to send it to him, which I did. Then he asked me to delete it, which I said I would do, but haven't yet. I feel like an a-hole for interfering, I really do. However, I'm worried about my friend's son. Depending on what my friend does, I might need to send this recording to the poor boy's family. I feel like I've overstepped, but what else can I do? Was I being an a-hole? I mean, I would say no. I mean, depending on what exactly she was saying. She said, too bad he not old enough to send to military school. It just depends on what this person considers to be horrible. She said they were saying horrible things. What do you consider to be horrible exactly? Like, was she talking about abuse, harm, trying to get rid of the, sounds like she don't like the son for sure. I don't know. I guess if it were me, maybe I would appreciate if somebody recorded like something that my fiance was saying about my child. I would probably appreciate that. He probably feels a bit embarrassed and he probably had an inkling that there was an issue. So, I don't know. Opie said he is not a monster at all. He's 2 years old. Oh, wow. So the girl has issues. Nah, you got to get her out of there. You talking about a 2-year-old like this? You saying too bad a 2-year-old is not old enough to send to military school? Nah, she gotta go, bruh. That's real crazy. She said he doesn't have any behaviors atypical for his age group. The worst thing he does is that he keeps trying to take his clothes off in public because it's so hot this summer. My friend is a great dad who loves his son very much. That's crazy to be talking about a 2-year-old like that. How long were they together? They're already about to get married? His son is only 2? Opie said, I just worry about this little boy. It's bad enough that his mom isn't in his life anymore. He deserves love and support. When I have said stupid things while drunk, there usually wound up being consequences for me later, and often I ended up needing to apologize to someone afterwards. Someone suggested that OP was in love with the groom and trying to break them up with fake drama. OP responded, well, I'm a lesbian, so. Update 3 days later. Yesterday, Friday afternoon, I got a text from my friend asking me to block his fiance's number. I was a bit thrown by the request and asked if everything was okay. He said he couldn't talk right now and asked me to please just block the number. So I blocked the number. I have this weird glitch with my Android Auto where if a blocked number calls me, it shows up in my recent calls as a missed call on my car's screen, even though on my actual phone it doesn't ring at all. I was driving later and saw a ton of missed calls from her. There were so many it exceeded what my car will show me. Damn. I kept the number blocked. Later, my friend's best friend, who was supposed to be the best man, called me and asked if I had heard from our friend. I said yes and asked why. He sent me a screenshot from the fiance's Facebook talking about how people show you their true colors and saying she was newly single. I tried to call my friend, but he didn't answer. Tonight, I finally heard back from him. The long and short of it is that he asked her about how she feels about his son. She said he's adorable and sweet. My friend played her the recording. She asked where he got it. He refused to tell her, saying it shouldn't matter. She immediately guessed it was me. He refused to confirm it. She was angry that he wouldn't tell her. I recorded the conversation and said she can't trust him anymore. She called off the wedding. The irony. Not a great update, but since so many of you were invested, I thought you would want to know. Child, the trash took itself out because what? That's the last main read. Let's go to the palate cleanser. I saw this on Instagram. What is the palate? Oh, the funniest thing about this is the lady's laugh. So it's a lady. I'm assuming she's watching her husband or her man go up to the ATM outside of a Chase bank. And ironically, there's a guy that's already at the ATM right next to the one that he's about to walk up to with almost identical outfit, stature, hairstyle. Like they both have on a hat backwards. They both have on a black shirt. They both have on camo shorts, different style, but they're both camo shorts. They both they look like the same ethnicity, almost the same height, almost the same weight. It's just funny. And like you can hear her laughing, and the laughing, I think, is the funniest part of it all. Let me play it. The text on screen says, my partner was at the bank to withdraw some money when he met his doppelganger.
They're wearing camo shorts and I'm fucking dying. They're the same size.
Oh man, that's it. It's just a stupid funny video. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.